Welcome to Cohesive Friendship Unit. My name is Chris. I am here with Jake,
Hey guys.
Jeremy,
Yo, what is up?
and perhaps the star of the show tonight, Brian.
What's going on?
Guys, something special happened at Gamescom. Jeff Keighley ushered in perhaps a new era of gaming. We got the Kerbal Space Program 2 cinematic announced trailer. We're going to talk all about Kerbal Space Program and Kerbal Space Program 2. But before we do, we are so close to 1,000 subs. We would appreciate any support to get us there. In fact, we're going to be giving away a copy of Conan Exiles on Steam once we hit 1,000 subs. And yeah, I think with that, we are good to go, guys. Let's talk Kerbal Space Program 2. We got the trailer. How we feeling? Do we need a Kerbal Space Program 2? Do we feel? How do we feel about it being developed by a new developer? Let's just hop right into it.
I put probably like 60 into a cracked version before I bought it, and now I'm sitting at 150. And despite numerous insistence, Chris and Jake, you guys don't have it at all.
Correct.
But
I mean, I've played it though. Like I've played the demo a long time ago, but I have.
Okay, so you said, do we need a Kerbal Space Program 2? Based on that demo, which is, like you said, a long time ago, and it has come a very, very long way since that point. Do you think we need a Kerbal Space Program 2?
Personally, I don't. Which is like I'm asking you.
Well,
So
no,
I-
I'm just trying to get, opinions and whatnot.
I asked Brian the same thing before we started. Because, how much can you improve on launching spaceships using physics? That seems like that's kind of a one-shot thing. But Brian mentioned that there's a lot in here. I mean, you can now travel to planets across... I mean, I don't know if the universe is the right term to use, but you can travel across systems.
Multiple solar systems, yeah.
Yeah, you could build bases, and it seems like Kerbal Space Program 2 is probably the realization of a vision they had with Kerbal Space Program 1. They just didn't have the resources to do it the first time.
Yeah, fundamentally, you're talking about two guys that came out with the original game with no budget. Like the story behind the Kerbals, what I've heard is when they were kids, these two guys, they would strap army men to fireworks and shoot them up into the air and pretend they were launching them into space. And one of the names that they came up with was Jebediah Kerman, and that eventually got incorporated into this game. And I don't know, it just has that sort of sandboxy but not uninviting feel to it. They want you to enjoy the process of crashing and killing all your Kerbals and having to start over and redesign your shit, and it's very interesting from that standpoint. And I think, go ahead, Jay. Sorry.
No, my bad. You keep.
No, I've been talking over you for a couple
No,
minutes.
it's just, well, I was just gonna say, I think the other thing that it could build upon would be just a little bit more of training wheels at the beginning, because I remember just kind of forcing my way into it when I played the demo, but when I tried to pick it up again, I was just I was pretty fucking lost. I was just I don't know what I'm doing. So I think a little bit more structure at the beginning of the game to kind of get you set up with the rough contours of how you're supposed to approach it. And then, as you said, Brian, the real fun of the game is blowing up your ships.
Well, no, the real fun of
In
the
the
game
beginning.
is when you spend 12 hours of your life trying to get something to another planet and you finally land it.
Hell yeah.
So this is they are going to improve the learning curve, I guess you could say it. They've made
that's a better way to put it.
significant improvements since their early shit. There was no tutorial in the initial versions. You just crashed until you figured it out. But they've added a lot more tools, They've added a couple of more tutorials in the newer versions that I found to be helpful, but I agree that they didn't go all the way. They didn't give you all the information that you actually needed, and they're talking about improving that because the learning curve is so bad. There's also going to be multiplayer, which I have no idea how that's going to work. It's going to be really interesting.
So what do you like? What do you want from Kerbal Space Program 2? First,
I just want to see. I want to see how the interstellar shit works.
Okay.
They described there was like an extended launch trailer that they came out with, and one of the devs talked about it being like the original game was kind of the history of rocketry and space flight up to this point, and that the second game was supposed to be stuff that might be feasible within the not too distant future.
So, like, not FTL travel, but like
well,
cryo sleep. Like, how are you going to get?
There'd be
like,
some sort of. I imagine it'd probably be FTL, like some sort of just, essentially just a warping mechanic to disguise the fact that you're switching systems, and then you have another system to explore. But I think the expanded, like, all of the shit that is in the current system is known. Like, everything. People have played the game enough that everything is known, but it's still fun to like explore and try to do all this shit. There's a challenge in actually flying your ship. Like, if you don't do it right, it's not like No Man's Sky, or it's not like a lot of other space games where you just kind of point your ship at something and it goes there. Like, it's the game itself is about the physics. It's about when you have to do burns and like the design of the rocket and all that shit. Which I think makes it off-putting for a lot of people. But they and one of the things that's really unique about this is they don't take a serious. It kind of going back to the story about launching army men on rockets. They don't take a really serious tone with it. It's expected that you're gonna crash. It's expected that you're gonna blow up. And there's, I don't want to say gallows humor, but it's that kind of lighthearted approach to the fact that you know you're going to crash and you know you're going to have problems and this and that, and that's all part of the learning experience. And you do actually learn stuff playing this game. It's someone it was again in this extended trailer. I think the guy was like a physicist or something. He wasn't from the dev, but he said it's one of the few games that actually manages to make learning something fun. And you do learn things. Well, like, you're like, okay, this is how rockets actually work. You learn about where, like, how the center of mass and how the center of lift has to be set up, or else the thing will flip over and it'll crash before it even leaves the atmosphere. If you can get into building planes, so you can build something that's like the space shuttle that has to fly like both a rocket and a plane. And for what it is, and you know, I know this is coming in at I think it's at like what, $40, $50 on Steam. For what it is, it's a very accurate simulation of, you know, multiple spaceships and multiple planetary bodies, and it does a really good job, I think, under the hood, of showing how these concepts actually work in real life. And I know for me, it's kind of sparked an interest in real rockets and real space missions that, you know, I wouldn't have. I'm always looking into stuff, but like I wouldn't have looked into this stuff specifically if I hadn't played this game. And you know, you're reading through these articles and they're talking about literally rocket science, and you think, oh geez, I know what this is, and I know what they're doing there, because you know, I've done this in Kerbal Space Program, or I've done something similar to this in Kerbal Space Program. And I think it's not something that a lot of games can really give you. I think that they're expanding for players that have played the game before. They're giving, you know, at least one new solar system, if not multiple. new solar systems in this update. They're improving bases, which is something that I've found really lacking. Like planetary bases, it's really difficult to build and kind of engineer that stuff, and it seems like it should be easier. They're kind of expanding their horizons, and the multiplayer thing. I don't think it'll be that good out of the gate, but I think once they improve it, it'll be something that's really nice. The one other thing I want to note is this has always been a game that was kind of centered around mods. Like there are tons of mods that you can get for Kerbal, the version that's currently out, that completely change how the game plays. You can get one where it makes it accurate to the solar system, so like it changes the atmosphere on the planet that you're on, it puts new planets in, and it changes all the orbits. You can get all sorts. You can actually do most of the stuff that they're talking about in this update with mods, with the exception, like interstellar travel is kind of out there because you'd have to add in new solar systems to actually travel to, but they have had mods that support FTL quote-unquote technologies for a good while now. But with the updates that they're doing, we're kind of seeing them continually taking the really good mods from the community and incorporating them into the game, because they realize, hey, this is what the people that are playing this game want, and this is what they think is cool or useful. We should incorporate it into our game so it's available to everyone easily and quickly. Not that mods aren't free, but there's some effort involved in installing those. And I think that really speaks to who they are, or their characteristics as a developer. I don't think that they've lost much, if at all, by kind of being absorbed by a couple of companies at this point. It seems like, and especially, I know the video, the extended trailer video is advertising essentially, but that really kind of reassured me that they haven't lost what made the original game so special. It seemed like all the people who were talking saw it as something that was larger than a game. And that's what this is. If you're willing to get into it, I put 20 hours into this game this past week. So take that for what you will. Yeah, it's a part-time job. I come home, I play Kerbal Space Program.
We also estimated that, or guesstimated that Elon Musk played this game, and he said, I want to do this in real life, and now we have SpaceX.
You start doing crazy shit with rockets, and then you have like a pile.
You have all the money in the world,
right? You're gonna try to do that shit. So maybe calm down a little bit. Stop making so many bad things. But whatever. I'm really hyped for this. I'll probably buy it when it comes out, which is not something I do for really any game.
Like day one.
If not day one, then pretty damn close to it.
Yeah, pretty damn. All right.
So what do you think about a new developer developing this game? Because Squad is not working on this as far as I can see.
I mean, from the trailer that I saw, it seemed like they were still kind of involved. I don't know. I would assume that they absorbed a lot of the, it's not necessarily Squad anymore, but it's developers who worked on it originally. The other thing I think about this is I think it's if you're gonna work on this, it's something you really have to have a passion for. Because it's so in the simulation under the hood, there's a lot going on here, and if you're just like, I want to make video games and I want to make big bucks, I don't think this is necessarily the project you would want to get involved in. So I'm not optimistic. I guess I'm cautiously optimistic about that. Because I know 2K is kind of but...
Yeah, you worried about, dare I
Well, and
say, loot boxes and shit.
They've said that they're not going to have any of that. Like
All
they've
right.
said out of the gate that they're not interested in that model, and they're very interested in keeping it open to mods. And if you have it open to mods, there's no point in having the loot boxes because you could just mod the loot boxes in. So, like, I don't really see that happening. I see this as kind of similarly to No Man's Sky. I see this as kind of like a pet project. Like, it's something that the people that are working on it because they want to work on it.
Gotcha.
Which is hopeful, right?
Jeremy and Brian, you guys have anything to say?
Jeremy and Jake.
Jeremy and Jake, sorry.
Dude, I think.
Brian
how do you
said it.
feel that?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it looks very good. I'm interested to see what the new developers will do. I mean, I've been doing some digging, and it looks like maybe the guys from Squad joined up with Star Theory, but I don't think so. I mean, looking through kind of the info on Squad, it sounds like, I mean, strangely enough, it looks like they have intentions to branch out into other areas, such as record producing. So, this may be an entirely new team, but from the looks of the trailer, I mean, it looks good, and I think that the kind of as Brian said, the values of the original company seem to kind of carry through with the people working on it now. I mean, you don't have your typical game developers working on this. They seem to be very passionate, so it looks like they're going to do really well with this game.
Well, and there's a huge audience of people that are just primed and ready to buy it because they love the original so much.
Yeah. And I was interested, I was asking Brian earlier whether this should have just been like a big DLC or if this should have been a second game. And I think they could do it. I think the second game can be done correctly. I think it's worthwhile to kind of cut and do a whole new, brand new game.
Yeah. This almost seems like making Minecraft 2 to me. But
yeah, like Roller Coaster Tycoon 2. Like, that was just, it made the original better.
Well, what about Roller Coaster Tycoon 3, Brian?
We don't want to talk about that. The isometric perspective is classic. It's timeless. Like, just stick with that. Just stick with what you know. Because then Atari bought it and fucking crashed it into the ground. But that's another story for another time.
Another story for another day. All right. I mean, I'm personally... Brian said it all. I don't know if you have anything, Jeremy.
Dude, no way.
No way.
Dude, Jay, you gotta get back into it. Like, there's a lot of changes that they made to it that I think that it really makes it, even in not the state that it's, I think it's like 1.7 or something like that. Like, it's not as hard to pick up as the old one, as the original version.
I've been planning on coming back to it. I have to finish a playthrough of Civ 6 as Peter the Great, and then maybe I'll check it out.
Civ 6. He's got a different addiction.
Different strokes.
We all have our vices.
Different fix.
But if our folks have strokes for us, what should they do?
What? I don't know what they should do about that. But if you're if like me, you find yourself hopelessly addicted to Kerbal Space Program, especially with the 50th anniversary of the moon landings being this year, go ahead and hammer your thoughts on that down in the word box. And like Chris said at the beginning of the video, we are tantalizingly close to the 1K mark. So go ahead and throw us a sub if you like this video. We do always appreciate those subs and those likes that you guys send us, and we love responding to your comments as well. So go ahead and do any of that if you want, or don't if you don't want. You know, it's a free country. Then smoke them if you got them, guys. That's all for me tonight, Chris.
Thank you, Brian. Catch you guys next time.